Many Christmas carols talk about Jesus as a newborn king. But how do we go from a baby in a manger to him being a king and understanding the implications of that for our lives? This is Dan from sermonsnack.com, bite-sized truths in 5 minutes or less. So if we're going to understand and unpack the sort of the depth and meaning of this phrase, Christ the newborn king, I think it's helpful for us to explore the idea of kings and kingdoms. Now, a kingdom is anywhere where a king is able to rule and to have their value system essentially enforced or lived by. So take, for example, a sports team. It'd be a great example of a little mini kingdom where a coach is able to say, this is how we're going to play the game. These are the value systems we use. And inside of that sports team is kind of like this little mini kingdom. So you could have a really bad king, so to speak, with a bad coach who says, we are going to cheat. And we're also going to try to hurt the other team deliberately. And it would make for a really, really toxic sort of environment or kingdom. You could have a workplace where you've got a really, really nasty boss who is really demeaning and makes for a horrible work environment. And if they get fired by corporate and you get a new manager or a new boss, and all of a sudden everything changes because there's essentially a new king in town. It's almost like there's a fresh new kingdom. So the king determines what the kingdom is like. Now, imagine you win a contest and you get like $1 billion and you're now named the king or queen of a small country that's on an island in the middle of the ocean. And so the question is, what kind of king or queen are you going to be? What's this country going to be like? What kind of kingdom are you going to have? Now, imagine that you get there and you're ready to rule this country in all your greatness and splendor, and all of a sudden you realize that the whole country's a mess. Everything's in disarray. Everything's in shambles. There's injustice. There's inequality. There's violence, and there's crime. There's all these things that need fixing. Now, being the awesome person that you are, you don't just give up or complain, but you actually start to imagine how you can fix things, how you can make this country a better place. You start to create this vision of a better future, a better version of your kingdom. And this is really similar to what we see when we talk about the kingdom of heaven coming on earth. You see, God created Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and everything was perfect. Everything was whole. Everything was complete. But then sin entered in and broke it all. It made it all a mess. And there's death, and there's destruction, and there's sin, and there's brokenness and separation from God, and brokenness with each other, and brokenness with the environment. And there's all these things that fell apart. And Jesus is God's way of saying, I'm not done yet. I'm going to fix this thing. You see, God's got this vision for a better future. We see in the book of Revelation how everything is restored, everything is put back and complete again. And so with the arrival of Jesus, this new king, there's ushered in a new kingdom of heaven here on earth. And we see it all through Jesus' teachings, where he says the kingdom of heaven is like this, the kingdom of heaven is like that. He talks about, in the kingdom of heaven, it's where you forgive people 70 times 7, where you're generous with your money, where the first are sometimes last and the last are then first. Or it's about taking care of the poor and the broken and the down and out, or turning the other cheek instead of responding with violence. It's about welcoming home prodigal sons with grace and forgiveness. And he's got all these examples over and over explaining, hey guys, this is the vision. This is the vision for God's kingdom coming on earth. Now here's the thing about God's kingdom. Unlike some kings who will force you to do what they want you to do, this is a kingdom of invitation. So how will you respond? So I think it's more than just singing along to the carols. It's more than just saying the words. It's about a personal decision to participate. It's about saying, you are my king. It's about raising your hand and saying, I'm in, God. I want to participate. I want to see your kingdom come in my life, in my work, in my family, in my city, in this world. God, I want to be part of seeing your kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. Jesus, you are my King. Thanks so much for listening. Don't forget you can hear more episodes by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, YouTube, or going online to sermonsnack.com.